Hey guys, it's Kay here from Startup Creative, and for those of you who have been following along, I have just finished writing my first ever book, which is going to be published by Hardy Grant Books next year. So I've written the final words and it's going into the publisher this Friday and will come about next year, so stay tuned. But I've had so much love and support from everyone on Instagram, and I wanted to say a massive thank you for cheering me on, supporting me along the way, for giving me your writing tips. There was days where I posted videos or pictures and said, I'm totally stuck, I don't know how to do this. And people would say, try this or do this, or here's something that's worked for me. So I took those on board and I definitely used them. Some of them, for if anyone's looking to write a book, there's things like somebody told me, Jess from Clavosaurus actually told me to transcribe talks that I've done in the past, because my book is called How to Start a Side Hustle, or Your Side Hustle. And it's a combination of the work that I've been working on for the last 5 or so years. So it was nice to know that I have lots of content there ready to go and to throw into the book. But that was a massive tip. Another one was to just get anything on paper, which was really helpful. So the times where I wanted to really give up and was completely overwhelmed, I'd just write something and then get it fixed later. Somebody else recommended that I get editors and people to look chapter by chapter, so I've been doing that and it helped the process a lot. But I wanted to share a little bit about what the book is and then also how it came about and what it actually took to write it, because I think for me, when I started Startup Creative, there was times where I had to exert lots of energy and really push myself to create something from nothing. And after 5 years of being in business, it felt like I kind of nailed a lot of the strategies and things that I needed to do. So it became easier for me to execute and get ideas out there. But as a business coach, I'm helping people often from the very beginning of their businesses. And it was a nice reminder for me to be at the beginning of a project again and having to figure out how to hack your mindset, how to stay motivated and focused when the end goal feels so far away, which I think sometimes after being in business for so long, you can lose track of that. So there's a lot that I learned in the process, from taking an idea from this concept to actually executing to a timeline and being able to sit here and say there's something physical coming out. So I'll share some of the tips that were a game changer for me, for those of you who might be starting out or struggling or feeling stuck or overwhelmed with really big tasks ahead of you. But just because you guys know I love goal setting and mindset, and part of what I loved about this book process is that I got to weave in mindset hacks throughout the whole business, throughout the whole book. So something that I've learned over the years is that we can talk practically about business and I can give you steps and tricks and tips and teach you how to do things. But if your mindset is off, then you're not going to get the job done. I can sit and coach you for an hour or 6 months, but then there's going to be times where it's just you and the computer or you and your product, right? And I definitely felt this in my book writing process, because it didn't matter how many tips I got, how much support, how many hand claps on Instagram. At the end of the day, it was me and the words, and sitting at my desk and being like, I have to get this out on paper. And I noticed so much resistance so many times in the process where I was like, I can't write a book. I can't. What am I doing? And that came from my limiting belief, which was when I was in high school as grade 12, I was a C- English student. I nearly didn't pass high school because I couldn't write well. So here I am sitting writing a 30,000 word book and knowing that it's going to be in print and distributed across the globe. I instantly had so much fear and self-doubt and overwhelm, imposter syndrome, scared of the future, scared of what are people going to say about this? Am I going to have to read bad reviews one day? What if people call bullshit on all of it? It was crazy. So throughout the whole book, I've managed to put in little things where I give you a piece of advice on how to start your side hustle or your business, but then I give you some mindset hacks of what might come up for you at that step on the journey. So we also talk a lot about, I did a chapter which I'm pretty proud of on money mindset and the limiting beliefs and how hard and why it can be so hard to charge for your goods and services, and how to overcome those for yourself. So it really does cover everything from why you should be an entrepreneur, how to get clear on your idea, who's your customer, marketing, money, all the things. But a little fun story, which I think you guys might enjoy, and I haven't really shared this with anyone, and I thought that it's a really nice reminder of the power of setting dreams and goals and intentions for yourself. So I think it was 2019, I went to a Dr. Joe Dispenza week-long retreat, and we did meditation for 7 days straight. But one of the cool things, if anyone's read his book, Becoming Supernatural, that he talks about is creating mind movies. So part of the week-long workshop, and he talks about this in his book, and I think there's plenty of advice on his website if you want to give it a crack, but we had to create a movie. So it was a physical movie that I made on my laptop, and we would do a meditation practice to get out of our conscious mind, our thinking mind, and get into our subconscious mind. And then we would watch our mind movie. It was about 3 minutes, and it was, like a vision board for what you want for your future. But the idea of it being a movie was that it was filled with affirmations, and we put an inspiring song to it. But something that I put in my mind movie was to write a book, and I would visualize and see myself at a book launch or signing books. And every time that I sat down and went, how can I make that dream a reality? What would I write about? Maybe I should start working on the book. I would always distract myself with other work, so coaching or courses or all the other things, writing a magazine. And I couldn't really see or get clear on what the idea would be. So I knew that I wanted this dream and this goal, and I held it as a clear intention. And in my meditation, I would still visualize myself walking, on stage and giving a talk, and then people buying my book and seeing people enjoying it. But I couldn't figure out the how. I couldn't really see how that would happen. And part of what I've learned with Dr. Joe's work is to surrender and to trust and know that if it's meant for you and you've put the dream out there, then it'll someday show up. And it was the end of last year. I was at a friend's 30th birthday party, and I was sitting around a table and got into this conversation with a lady who was from Hardy Grant Book Publishers, and I didn't know this at the time, but started talking to her about mutual contacts and friends, and I think maybe I said a little bit about what I do with Startup Creative. And it was very simple, and she was an acquisitions person for Hardy Grant. And the next day I wake up, it's Monday morning, and I get this email from Alice from Hardy Grant that said, it was so lovely to meet you. I've just looked at your website and all of the work that you've been doing, and we've got an idea for a book, and we think we'd really like you to write it. And I was like, oh, is this just happening to me? This is wild. And why I share this story is because that opportunity came completely out of nowhere, and it was my wildest dreams come true, right? But it doesn't just land in your lap. There was work to be done after that. So I get this email, I write back straight away, and I'm like, I can meet you tomorrow, let's chat. I print off all my resources, I take my magazine, I bring in anything else that validates me as an author, because the deal's not done yet, right? So I get myself organized, I turn up to this meeting on Tuesday morning, I present what I've done and tell her a little bit about some of the work that I've done in the past. And then she sends me, we leave the meeting, she sends me, okay, great, we'd actually like you to put together a proposal of what you would write in this book called How to Start Your Side Hustle. And so I had 1 week to write a book outline, and I went home and I just worked my ass off. I called my little sister, who's way smarter than me and is really good at editing, and I said, can you help me? I'm gonna write this outline. And she helped me edit and give feedback, and I worked my ass off for a week trying to figure out what I would write into this book, and then also pulling together things that I'd done in the past to help me be the author, right? So I think what's really important to note here is that if opportunities arise, and I talk about this in the book, it is up to you about how quick and fast of action you're going to take. How bad do you want that dream or that goal? And then being able to take action and to back yourself and to meet the deadlines, right? So I wrote the book outline, which ended up being about 5,000 words, maybe a little bit less. And that was about December last year. So come January, February, I get a book contract. So I was still like, oh my God, like, are they gonna like it? Is it gonna be good enough? So sitting on edge of being like, wow, is this really happening? Then January rolls around and I get an email saying, here's your book deal. We'd like to sign you as an author. And I was like jumping around the room, like so excited. My partner brought me champagne and we were like, wow, this is happening. Like, I'm writing a book. And literally within a week, like not even a week, probably a day, I was like, what? No, I cannot do this. Like, this is not happening. Like, I had instant fear, self-doubt, overwhelm, procrastination, everything. I was just like, and another friend of mine who's also writing a few books at the moment, we got together and she got a similar book deal that's going global as well. And we were like, well, now we're putting ourselves out into the world. Like, now we're going to tell people what we're, what we believe, and it's going to be in print. It's not just like the difference, I think, between writing a blog or a podcast or an Instagram account is that it's people who have signed up for what you have to say. They know you, they've been on the journey for a while, they can kind of suss you out. But to write a book and put it in print and know that, randoms can critique it or have a say about it, or it puts it into this more of a global platform. It was definitely that moment of standing on the edge of a dream and a goal and being like, oh my God, am I going to jump into this? Because stepping into a goal that you don't yet know how to do, or that is overwhelming or bigger than you've ever done before, it can also bring up a lot of, am I good enough? And what will people think? And sometimes it feels safer to stay back here and go, if I push myself out of this comfort zone and I print something that people aren't going to like, or that maybe I got something wrong, will I be able to handle that? And so for me, it was about trusting that I could do this. And one of the things that I've done, and I think Abigail was on here, I don't know whether she still is, but one of the things that helped me to step over that edge and to stay in the unknown and to push myself to this new goal was to hire a team, to get a team of experts around me. So my little sister was definitely one of those who edited. Abigail, who's waving, has been an absolute gem. I've been meaning to text you today, Abigail. She's an editor and she's written a book and she's done some great copywriting for brands like Market Lane and just all-round legend. But Abigail has been editing every single chapter and giving me feedback, and honestly, some of the times where I was just like terrified to send it to her, knowing that she was already a published author, and being like, I don't know whether I want her to read this, is this going to be horrible? And would always come back with really great criticism or feedback, so it would help with my edits, and it instantly would put me at ease and go, I can do this, and I know that I'm not alone. I know that that there's other people who are supporting me and believing me and want this to be the best as well. So thank you, Abigail. I would not have done this without you. And I know you're probably still working on it, so thank you. But I think it's like, that was a game changer for me, bringing on a team of people who are experts and who could help you to believe in yourself. I think if no matter what you're working on or the goal or dream that you might have, don't go it alone, go, Abigail, thank you, you build a team of people who are going to back you, who might be smarter than you, who can have skills that you might not have. I think is really vital to getting a goal or a dream off the ground. But just as a little bit of a timeline and some things that I've learnt over the process is, to definitely build that team around you. I actually looked at my Instagram stories. It was 18 weeks ago, so it was early March that I started writing chapter 1, because I went through a really big procrastination stage. And early March, I took myself, I was like, right, now's the time. So I took myself away for 2 weeks to the Eco Lodge, which you guys probably watched, or it's on my story highlights if you want to have a look. But it was, again, amazing people around you who were like, come on out, we can discount your price, like, write your book, what an honor to be a part of your process. And surrounded myself in nature and started building a habit of getting up early, writing even when I didn't feel like it, and just getting something on paper, and studying and learning and diving deep, and just doing it even though there was times when I didn't feel like it. So that was 18 weeks ago, and as everybody on here will know, the world has turned to shit since then. And something that I talk about in the book, and that I've definitely learned for myself, is that it does not matter what's going on around you in the environment. So in my personal experience, I've had, the pandemic, we've had the Black Lives Matter and really supporting our Indigenous community. I've had coaching clients to manage. I run a podcast. I've, traveled around different cities because of the pandemic, and creating space for myself to write. There's been so many different things. Last week my computer got a virus. Earlier in March my computer died and I had to buy a brand new one. Like, there's been endless different things that have happened that have been like, oh my god, not now, I'm writing a book. But it doesn't matter. I think what I've learned is that if you want something bad enough, you will go after it. You will make it happen, and you will create space, and you'll quieten the noise, and you won't give in to the excuses or the environment around you that's saying, yeah, but now's not the right time or whatever. So yeah, I think it's a good example and a good reminder for myself to also be like, yeah, you can do it. If you want something bad enough and you really connect to the outcome, then you can get it. And who cares if there's a pandemic going around, or you've got things going on in your personal life, or your computer's operating slowly, or your mind is telling you that you can't do it. You will find a way if you set that goal. And for me, there was days, like even this last week of getting the last few chapters out, where I was like, oh my god, like I'm exhausted. I was getting up at 5 a.m. My shoulders are still hurting from like sitting at a computer for 8 hours a day. And I would like to say that I was really healthy and nourished and exercised and took regular breaks, but I didn't. I fed myself, sporadically, and not always the best food. Like I sat down for way too long. I didn't prioritize getting outside. But all of those things could have kept me small, could have kept me from the end goal, but I knew that I kept holding on to what it would be like to see it in print one day, to be on the book tour, to see it in stores, to see you guys enjoying it and getting results from it. And that's what kept me going. So if you've got a goal out there or a dream, keep focused on that end goal. Keep focused on where you're going and what it's going to feel like, and visualize yourself there. I personally, every single day that I wrote this book, I got up and I made sure I meditated before I wrote. I knew that if I went from like my mind, from like a thinking place, then I would just get distracted easy. There was days where when really early on, where I tried to get through it without it, and I would actually end up stopping work and going to meditate. But after that week, I learned you cannot write unless you meditate, because it clears your mind, it clears your thoughts. And I can't quite describe it, but there was definitely moments where I sat down and I was like, just get into your heart and write for somebody that you know. So whether it was people writing to me on Instagram that follow me, or somebody that I've coached, or a friend who was saying, I've got an idea, I would physically hold that person, and most of you guys as my Instagram community, I would hold you as the person I was talking to and type and write as if I was coaching you personally. And I think that really, really helped me, because it meant that it wasn't like this big, lofty, overwhelming thing, but this is somebody who needs what you have to say. How can you write this and deliver it in a way that they're going to like it and understand it? And I kept challenging myself to making sure that it was something that you guys could digest and that you would want. So I'm hoping that it holds that energy, and that when you read it, you'll feel me there with you, and feel like you're getting a personal coaching session, because that's how I wanted it to come across. Another really big thing, which, you know, anyone going after a big goal, no matter what stage of your business you're at, or if you want to write a book or you're building something from scratch, I think it's really important to take one step at a time and know that at each step you're going to get a different perspective. And this is something that I wrote about in the book, and I feel like it was a game changer for me, but also for business, people starting businesses, is that there's only, when at the days that I dreamt or like I thought about the word count and how far I had to go, were the days where I felt really overwhelmed and I doubted myself. But the days where I was like, just this chapter today, or just get something on paper, and I just took one step at a time, or even sometimes reading a book or listening to a podcast or coaching someone, was all feeding my intelligence to be able to write something. So it was really important for me, and I think it's a game changer for businesses, is to just take one step at a time. And just like when you're climbing a mountain, there's going to be certain steps that you get to, and you'll get a new perspective that you couldn't possibly have gotten 5 steps ago, or 100 meters down the mountain, because you weren't there yet. So know that if you just take one step every time, and that trust that at each step you take, you're opening your horizons and your perspective and your ability to see a new way of doing it or saying it. And for me, staying in the present moment and writing with just one step at a time allowed me to just focus on writing this thing really well, right here, right now, this point or whatever. And I would stop and I would reflect, and I would think about, somebody I've had this conversation with, or that I've worked on that with. So, and then I would move. And when I did that slow process, there was big, nice, long periods where it just flowed with ease, and I felt like the person like in a movie just typing like crazy, and I was like, this is genius, like don't stop. But that takes practice and taking one step at a time. And then you get smarter along the way. You become a better writer. You learn, like having Abigail and my sister Emily, being able to edit and give feedback. Every edit that they made, every track change, every suggestion, I would go and read it and see it, so that I could learn where I was making mistakes, or words that I was misspelling, or where to put commas. And over time, my vocabulary felt like it was growing a little bit, and my knowledge. And I also spent a lot of time, which sounds counterintuitive to writing a book. Like, you feel like there's lots of words that you have to write, so why would you fill your head with more? But I read a lot, and I listened to audiobooks and podcasts, and I kept filling myself with knowledge, knowing that I was adding to my subconscious, so that it was in there somewhere, the knowledge and what I wanted to say, and then I would be able to articulate it in my own words. So I kept educating myself throughout the whole process. So really, really important for your own business. Keep doing courses, keep reading, keep learning. It's all going in, and it's all will start to come out in your own way, and the action that you take. So get started, get in the game, figure it out as you go. Like, there is, I could not have ever imagined that I would be able to sit here and say, I've written a book. I wrote 30,000 words, 15 chapters, probably more than 30,000 words. And that it's going to be sent out globally. Like, it's a wild, wild dream, but it started with a vision, and it started with a dream that I had for myself, and believing that could come true. And it took me 5 years being in business for somebody to find me and say, hey, we love your business, we love what you've created. And a lot of what I have created and given away has been for free. So to land a publishing deal that has now a reward of that hard work is a result of being in the game and showing up and being consistently building your business and your tribe and your tone of voice and your expertise, and knowing that the right people, when they come along and they find what you're doing and see it, then opportunities will arise because you've done the hard work. You're not just sitting back saying, if you pay me to do it, then I'll do it. But you're showing up and you're in the game, and you're giving yourself the best possible opportunity to be found and given these opportunities. So that's a little bit about me. I'm sure I'll share more about the process and what's to come. We're going to build out a bunch of resources that are going to sit on the website for those who buy the book. We'll probably do a book tour. I'd love to do it globally, but depending on what happens with the world, we'll definitely do it Australia-wide if all goes to plan. And so stay tuned for that. And yeah, I'll keep you on the journey with design and everything that's flowing. And yeah, I'm even thinking about testing some of the content with some of you guys. So stay tuned for maybe a little mini e-course that might come out shortly to test out some of the content and see if it's working and if it's something that you like, and a bit of a taste tester. So thank you for following along. Thank you for your support, for your messages, and I cannot wait to share it with you when it all comes out. Go get your dreams, guys.